Okay, these are some of the geometric proofs worksheet for problems, and these are the solutions. So number one, and these are like on your worksheet, so take a look here what we've got. And we're given, this is number one, that AB is congruent to CD, and I actually put this in, so save a little bit of time. So AB is congruent to CD. I'll mark that. And angle ABD is congruent to angle CBD. ABD is congruent to angle CDB. That's given. We want to prove that angle A is congruent to angle C. So this is what we want to prove over here, angle A and angle C. I'll put those in pencils marks because that's what we want to prove. And the way we do that is we try to find the two triangles that these are parts of and show that these two triangles are congruent, and therefore by CP, CTC, corresponding parts of congruent triangles, they will be congruent. Well, it's obviously these are the two triangles, and it looks like we've already got side angle. Okay, so I can mark over here that this is a side, and this is an angle. So all I need is another side, and that's going to be easy because I know that DB is congruent to DB by the reflexive property. So that's what I would say for my second side. DB is congruent to DB, and that's the reflexive property of congruence, and that gives me the other side. I'll put 2 marks on that. So therefore these two triangles are congruent. Now I have to set the correspondence right. So I'll try triangle ABD. I'll start with this pencil angle, marked angle, and I'm going 1 mark, 2 marks. So I'll say triangle ABD. Triangle ABD is congruent to triangle. Now remember, we got to set the correspondence right. ABD, so I'm starting from the pencil angle, and I'm going 1 mark, 2 marks, so I'll have to be CDB. Okay, 1 mark, 2 marks. CDB. And that's going to be by side angle side. Now since those two triangles are congruent, now remember that's 3 parts. These sides, these angles, and this side, which is the common side, but that means that all the other parts are congruent because they're congruent triangles, the corresponding parts. So angle A and angle C are congruent. This angle here and this angle are congruent. All right, and these sides are congruent, the other 6 parts. We just want to show that A and C are congruent, so that's what we would say. Angle A is congruent to angle C, and that'd be CPCTC. And that's what we've got. Okay, so that's all I have to do for that one. Let's take a look at number 2. And number 2, we're given that AC is congruent to EC, so I'll mark that on my sketch because I gave that here as given. AC is congruent to EC. Now we're trying to prove that AB, let me mark that, is congruent to ED. So I'm trying to prove that AB is congruent to ED. Okay? So I want to find, again, 2 triangles that these are parts of. And it's going to be obvious, it's going to be these 2 triangles. I know that AC is congruent to EC, that's given. I already wrote it down here, that's why I marked it. And I also know that BC is congruent to DC. All right? And then I also have vertical angles. So I know these 2 triangles are going to be congruent by side angle side. I can jot that over here. And then I'll have the corresponding parts congruent by CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So let's show these 2 triangles are congruent first. So again, I said AC is congruent to EC. And then I've got the vertical angles, so I'll do that next. I know these angles are vertical angles, and those are congruent, so I'll say ACB. Angle ACB is congruent to angle ECD. And that's vertical angles. Angles are congruent. Now, right now I've got a side and an angle, and I also given that BC is congruent to DC, so I'll put 2 marks there. And now we've got our side angle side, and that's my other side. So therefore my triangle is congruent. So how I write the correspondence, I'll write A, well I can go ABC if you want. Write any way I want it. Let's go this way, let's go ACB, triangle ACB. And like I said, I can pick this anyway for the first triangle, but once I have the first triangle, I have to pick the second triangle accordingly. Now, ACB, I'm going 1 mark, 2 mark, so this has to be 1 mark, 2 mark, so ECD. That correspondence has to be correct. So here I'm going 1 mark, 2 marks, so 1 mark, 2 marks, ECD. And those triangles are congruent by the side angle side. Okay, since they're congruent by side angle side, that means that all the other 3 parts are congruent. That means angle A is congruent to angle E, angle B is congruent to angle D, and AB is congruent to ED, and that's what I want to prove. So I got plenty there. So I know that what I want to prove is AB, segment AB, is congruent to segment ED. Why? Because those are corresponding parts of these 2 congruent triangles. Corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent. Those are my 2 congruent triangles, okay? All right, so that's 1 and 2. I hope that makes sense. It'd be pretty easy, and hopefully you appreciate all the logic and the steps.